Part 1: The Fateful Mission. Ethan Walker and Olivia Reed were veteran NASA astronauts chosen for one of humanity's most ambitious missions, exploring a distant star system in search of signs of extraterrestrial life. This journey was expected to mark a new era for mankind, offering the possibility of finding a second home in the vast universe. They departed Earth aboard Odyssey, a marvel of human engineering, equipped with advanced life support systems, state of the art laboratories, and basic defensive weaponry for emergencies. After nearly a year traveling billions of miles, they had grown accustomed to life in space, endless days filled with scientific experiments, data reports, and conversations about Earth, a place they weren't sure when they would see again. "Do you think we'll find anything this time?" Olivia asked as they monitored the ship's automated scanning system. Ethan shrugged, his eyes fixed on the screen. "Hopefully, a habitable planet, or at least something that proves we're not alone." They had passed countless barren worlds, lifeless rocks, toxic atmospheres, and raging storms. But now something different had appeared. The Odyssey's system had detected something unusual, a signal. Not just any signal, but one that appeared artificial. "This can't be natural," Olivia muttered, analyzing the frequency patterns. Ethan sat up straight, his expression sharpening. It could be evidence of an advanced civilization. Both of them fell silent, realizing the magnitude of their discovery. If this truly was a signal from an intelligent alien species, it would be the first undeniable proof that humanity was not alone, a discovery that could change everything. But what they didn't know was that their decision to investigate this signal would lead them into the most dangerous encounter of their lives. Part 2: First Contact. Ethan and Olivia carefully adjusted Odyssey's course, following the mysterious signal deeper into the uncharted star system. The closer they got, the clearer the transmission became. An irregular pulse, almost rhythmic, but unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. It wasn't just noise, it was a message. What if it's a distress signal? Olivia wondered aloud as she fine-tuned the frequency scanner. Or a warning, Ethan muttered. The thought sent a chill down their spines, but they had come too far to turn back now. Odyssey finally reached the origin of the signal, a massive metallic structure floating in the darkness of space, partially hidden within the asteroid belt. It looked ancient, yet still functional. Strange symbols covered its surface, glowing faintly with an eerie blue light. This is a spacecraft," Olivia breathed, her eyes wide in awe. "Not just any spacecraft," Ethan said. "This thing is massive, at least 5 times the size of Odyssey." Their ship's scanners struggled to analyze the material of the alien vessel. It was composed of an unknown alloy, one that defied their current understanding of physics. More unsettlingly, there was no visible damage, no signs of decay. Whoever built it had either abandoned it or was still inside. A sudden tremor shook Odyssey. "What the hell was that?" Olivia's fingers flew across the controls, checking the ship's stability. Ethan looked at the radar. "Something just locked onto us." Before they could react, a blinding beam of light engulfed their ship, pulling them toward the alien vessel like an invisible hand. Their systems flickered wildly, alarms blaring as they lost control. "Ethan, we're being pulled in!" Olivia shouted, gripping the armrests of her seat. He gritted his teeth, trying to override the ship's autopilot, but it was useless. They were caught. As the alien craft loomed larger on the screen, a single thought raced through both their minds. They were no longer the explorers. They were the discovered. Part 3: The Encounter. The blinding light engulfed Odyssey as it was drawn closer to the alien ship. The stars outside seemed to vanish, consumed by the dark shadow of the massive vessel. Ethan and Olivia were helpless as their ship was pulled toward the unknown. The ship's systems were completely overridden. They had no control, no way of resisting the pull. It was as though some unseen force had taken hold of them. "Hold on, Olivia!" Ethan gripped the controls, trying to stabilize the ship, but it was useless. "Ethan, it's no use," Olivia said, her voice tight with panic. "We're being dragged in. This isn't just gravity. It's something else." The ship was drawn into the belly of the alien vessel, the surface of the craft looming larger and larger until they passed through an enormous docking bay. Odyssey finally came to a halt, its engines sputtering as the alien ship's force pulled them into place, anchoring them securely within the docking area. The moment the ship stopped, the lights inside Odyssey flickered, and a sudden silence fell. Then, a strange sound, metal scraping against metal, echoed from outside, sending a shiver down their spines. "They're here," Ethan whispered. The airlock on Odyssey opened slowly, and they both stood, weapons ready, unsure of what was waiting for them. The moment the hatch released, a gust of cold, sterile air swept in. Through the doorway, they saw a long, dimly lit corridor, its walls adorned with intricate alien symbols. Without saying a word, they cautiously stepped outside, their boots echoing softly against the metal floor. Their movements were slow and deliberate, every instinct telling them to be cautious, yet neither of them could shake the feeling that they were being watched. Suddenly, shadows moved. From the darkness ahead, figures appeared, tall, thin, and impossibly graceful. Their skin was a translucent, shimmering silver, and their eyes glowed faintly, like twin stars. They moved toward Ethan and Olivia with an eerie sense of calm, and without speaking a word, they stopped just in front of them. Ethan and Olivia exchanged a glance, both of them uncertain, but ready for whatever might come next. The alien beings seemed to study them, their expressions unreadable, yet there was no immediate hostility. Instead, there was something curious. One of the aliens stepped forward, raising a hand in what seemed like a gesture of peace. It then made a sound, a soft hum that resonated deep within their chests. The tone was unfamiliar, yet it felt almost soothing. "They're trying to communicate," Olivia said quietly. "But we don't understand them." Ethan nodded, his hand hovering over his translator device. "I think it's time we find out if our technology can help us talk." But just as he was about to activate the device, a loud, mechanical sound interrupted them, followed by a voice, an electronic hum, deep and resonant, coming from the walls themselves. It was a warning, but in a language neither of them could comprehend. The temperature in the room dropped, and the figures stepped back, their eyes narrowing as if preparing for something. Ethan and Olivia felt the weight of an unseen threat looming closer. And they realized whatever came next would determine whether they survived this encounter. Part 4. Fight for Survival. The deep, mechanical voice reverberated through the walls of the alien ship, growing louder and more urgent. The shimmering aliens before Ethan and Olivia suddenly turned their heads toward the ceiling, their glowing eyes flickering as if they too were processing the message. Then, without warning, the entire ship trembled. The dim blue lights along the walls flashed red, casting eerie shadows over the corridor. A deafening alarm blared through the structure. "What the hell is happening?" Ethan shouted over the noise. "I don't know, but I don't think we're safe anymore," Olivia replied, gripping her weapon. The alien beings in front of them took a step back, their expressions no longer calm. There was fear in their glowing eyes. Then, as if responding to an unseen command, they turned and vanished into the darkness of the ship. A sudden screeching sound filled the air, something metallic and unnatural. The walls themselves seemed to shift. The floor beneath their feet vibrated violently. And then from the far end of the corridor, another set of figures emerged. These were not like the beings they had just seen. Dark, towering, and heavily armored, the new arrivals moved with a predatory grace. Their limbs were encased in biomechanical plating, their heads elongated, with no visible eyes, only smooth, black surfaces that reflected the flashing red lights around them. Their bodies emitted a low, droning hum, as if they were charged with raw energy. "They don't look friendly," Ethan muttered, raising his weapon. "Yeah, no kidding," Olivia said, stepping back. One of the creatures extended its arm, and with a single fluid motion, a weapon unfolded from its forearm, a sleek, sharp-edged rifle that pulsed with violet energy. Without hesitation, it fired. A bolt of plasma shot through the air, barely missing Olivia as she dove to the side. The impact struck the wall behind her, melting the metal into a glowing puddle. "Run!" Ethan yelled, grabbing Olivia's arm and pulling her back toward Odyssey. Their boots pounded against the floor as they sprinted down the corridor, dodging blasts of searing energy. The walls around them sizzled and warped under the relentless attack. Ethan turned and fired a few shots from his pulse rifle, but the projectiles barely slowed their pursuers. "They're too fast," Olivia shouted. "We need to get to the ship, now!" As they rounded the corner, the docking bay came into view. Odyssey was still intact, but the alien mechanisms holding it in place had locked its entry hatch shut. They were trapped outside. Ethan slammed his fist against the control panel, trying to override the docking clamps. Come on! Come on! The creatures were closing in. Olivia turned, gripping her weapon tightly, preparing to make a last stand. But before she could fire, something unexpected happened. A blinding blue light erupted from the side corridor, followed by a wave of energy that sent the attackers sprawling. The same shimmering aliens from before had returned, this time wielding weapons of their own. They had chosen a side. One of them motioned frantically toward Ethan and Olivia, their expression urgent. They didn't need to understand the words to know what it meant. Follow us. With no other choice, they ran after their unlikely saviors, deeper into the alien ship toward an uncertain fate. Part 5, Escape Plan. Ethan and Olivia sprinted after their unexpected allies as the ship trembled around them. Behind them, the armored creatures regained their footing, firing another round of violet energy blasts. The shimmering aliens retaliated with silent beams of light, cutting through the air with deadly precision. One of their alien saviors motioned toward a nearby door, pressing a panel on its arm. The door slid open, revealing a control chamber filled with glowing consoles. Without hesitation, Ethan and Olivia rushed inside. The door sealed behind them just as plasma blast struck its surface. Outside, the enemy was trying to break through. One of the shimmering aliens stepped forward, pressing its hand against a circular console. A holographic display appeared, showing the entire ship. Red warning lights flashed across the schematic. Damage reports, system failures, a battle raging throughout the vessel. They're losing control, Ethan muttered. The alien turned to them, glowing eyes urgent. Then a voice echoed inside their heads. Escape, now. Ethan and Olivia exchanged stunned looks. They could communicate. Our ship is disabled, Olivia said. We can't leave. The alien moved quickly, bringing up a new projection, a small escape pod stored within the ship. It was tiny but functional. That's our way out, Ethan realized. The pounding on the door grew louder. The metal began to bend inward. The enemy was nearly through. Run! Ethan hesitated. What about you? The alien shook its head. Our fight, not yours. Go! A hidden hatch slid open, revealing a narrow passage leading to the pod. Olivia grabbed Ethan's arm. Come on! As they dashed inside, Ethan glanced back one last time. The alien stood firm, weapon raised, as the doors burst open. Then the hatch sealed, cutting off the sight. Reaching the pod, Olivia slammed the launch button. The hatch sealed, the pod detached. As the alien ship erupted in flames, their tiny vessel was thrown into the void, toward an uncertain fate. Part 6, A New Home. The escape pod hurtled through space, spinning wildly as shockwaves from the alien ship's explosion sent it off course. Ethan gripped the controls, trying to stabilize their descent, while Olivia scanned their surroundings. We're heading toward a planet, Olivia said, eyes locked on the small screen. It has an atmosphere, oxygen levels. It's almost like Earth. Ethan barely had time to process her words before the pod shuddered violently. Flames engulfed the exterior as they entered the planet's atmosphere, plummeting toward the surface at alarming speed. Brace for impact. The pod crashed into dense vegetation, skidding across the ground before coming to a grinding halt. Smoke and sparks filled the cabin, but miraculously, they were alive. Ethan forced the hatch open, and fresh air rushed in. Stepping outside, they found themselves in a vast green landscape, towering trees, distant mountains, and a blue sky above. The air was breathable, the gravity familiar. It was almost like being back on Earth. Olivia exhaled in relief. We made it. Looking back at the escape pod, Ethan frowned. But we have no way to contact Earth. No ship, no signal. She nodded, determination setting in. Then we survive. We build, and we wait. As the sun set over their new world, the two astronauts stood side by side, gazing at the stars. Somewhere out there, Earth still existed, and one day, someone would come looking for them. Until then, this planet was home.